360 waves ruined my life. This is coming from someone who built their whole social media, their whole brand off of 360 waves. And I also managed to get pretty nice elite waves. So I want to put you guys on to the truth about 360 waves. I still do have waves now. They're not as good as before. So why did 360 waves ruin my life? The first reason is the amount of time you have to dedicate to your waves is literally insane. The amount of brushing, washing style, combing, wolfing, the amount of time it takes to get elite waves, the waves that all the people want, the nice, deep, silky, no forks, perfect elite waves, those kind of waves, it takes a lot of time. And I know a lot of young guys, they want those nice looking waves. I was brushing for an hour in the morning and an hour at night for the whole week. So that's 2 hours a day, 7 days in a week. That's 14 hours. That's basically a part-time job, and it's just on your hair. That's too much time to dedicate to just your waves, in my opinion. I feel like you could use that time to go to the gym. You could use that time to get smarter. You could use that time to invest in a business. I don't recommend you spend that much time just on your waves. And that's actually on the low end of time spent on my waves. I was also doing the wash and style. And then when you're wolfing, it takes way more time because the longer your hair, the harder it is to lay it down. So honestly, I was probably spending around 15 to 20 hours a week just on my hair. And that sounds crazy. I was pretty much obsessed with my hair. I was basically changing around my life to suit my hair. What I mean by that is, let's say I had to go out, right? I would say like, oh, I can't go out because I need to get my hair cut on a specific day so my waves could look a specific way. Or I was wearing my do-rag to places that you're not supposed to wear a do-rag. I'm not saying wearing a do-rag is unprofessional. I'm just saying that why are you wearing a do-rag on a date? Like things like that, it just doesn't make sense. Why are you wearing a do-rag to this place? Why are you wearing a do-rag to that place? It's pretty much like you're obsessing over your hair and you're moving your life around to suit your hair, which is kind of crazy. And I don't want young guys to, fall in that same loop, because I know 360 Waves is a big community. There's so many YouTube pages. There's so many brands built off 360 Waves. And I think that's good. Having 360 waves is dope, but don't obsess over it to a point where it's gonna change your life and, it's taking away from other things like it was for me. I was spending a lot of money on products. I was spending a lot of money on brushes, creams, combs. And it's like, bro, you're spending all this time, you're spending all this money just on a hairstyle. And I feel like a lot of young guys, they want to look good in order to impress women, which is good. People should want to improve their appearance to gain confidence and get girls. When it comes to waves, women don't really know what elite waves are. They don't know what forks are. They don't know what connections are. They probably know what wash and style is, but when it comes to waves, when it comes to getting deep in the wave game, they don't know all the ins and outs to waves, right? Only guys know about that stuff, right? When it comes to forks, angles, connections, like crown area, swirl, beehive, they don't know what this stuff is. So when it comes to getting waves to impress women, you're actually doing the opposite, because women, they probably just see a couple ripples and a nice fade and they think you're spinning. But when it comes to getting elite waves, only really guys, really know what that is, or they might be able to recognize it. Because for me, when I thought getting waves would get girls, it actually did the opposite. I was online posting my waves, and it was only dudes saying, oh, you're spinning. Yo, how did you get these elite waves? And I would be walking around outside, and it would be like older dudes, OGs. They're like, yo, I used to have waves back in the day. I used to use Murray's. It was never women really pointing out my waves. It was really just dudes online and dudes in person asking me, how did I get waves? So when it comes to waves, and how it kind of ruined my life is I was spending too much time. I was wolfing for, months at a time. so my hair was looking crazy. And then I would get a haircut just so my waves could look good for a few weeks. And then I would go right back into wolfing. So it really didn't make sense why I was investing so much time into my hairstyle when I was always wearing a do-rag, and then I was also wolfing for long periods of time. So I was looking rough anyway, and then 90% of the time I was wearing a do-rag. So it's like, why am I dedicating this much time, this much money on my hair? And I'm not saying don't get waves. That's not what I'm saying. I want people to get waves. But when it comes to trying to become elite and falling into this trap of, worrying about forks and spending hour-long brush sessions, trying to break one fork, you're basically brushing, trying to move your curls a little bit so you can break a fork. Really think about that. You're spending hours in the mirror and you're trying to break this one fork, and who's really gonna notice, right? Is a girl gonna walk up to you and be like, oh, you got forks, I'm not gonna talk to you? Or are you gonna go throughout life and people are gonna see your forks and then they're gonna be like, in real life, this is not gonna happen. This is only gonna happen on social media, where people are gonna really be like, yo, your waves are trash. When I was first getting started in my wave journey, my waves weren't really that good. But I would go out in public and people would be like, yo, you're spinning. And the thing is, people only care about forks, connections, and stuff like that. It's a very niche, small community in the grand scheme of things that really care about that stuff. It's really only inside the wave community that they care about forks, angles, connections, and all these crazy terms. But once you go out in public, it really doesn't matter. So what I'm trying to say is, don't spend so much time on your waves to a point where it's taking over your life. You may not even realize it's taking over your life, but for me, every hour I would go in the bathroom and I would brush my hair. Every hour. I would have to look at my waves so much during the day to make sure my waves were perfect. I was always carrying a brush with me. I would carry products in my bag. When I was traveling, I had to have my wave stuff. And it's like, dang, yo, I'm really upset. You may not even realize it, but you're obsessing. You have to schedule your day of the week to do your wash and style. You gotta schedule your day to get your hair cut. You gotta wolf for this amount of time. And it really takes over your life to a point where it's just crazy. Why are you spending this much time on your waves? Going to the bathroom, taking off my do-rag, checking your waves, putting it back on. It could really ruin your life and take over your life. You're spending all this money on barbers and, things like that. And I pretty much just want to tell people yo, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You can have nice waves if you just spend, a little 10 to 15 minutes on your hair. That's what I'm doing now.